Good day, strategy gamers, and welcome back to episode 14 of our Let's Play War in the East 2 1941 scenario as the Soviets. In this episode, we're going to be completing turn 6 with our ground movement phase, ending the turn, and seeing just how far the Axis forces can make it in their Operation Barbarossa. In the previous episode, we kind of did all of our ground movements north of Kursk along the front lines, and overall kind of summarized that we were feeling good about things, although we had concerns about their ability to break through north of Smolensk, and we had concerns about their ability to break through south of Lake Ilmen, just as a recap for you guys. Continuing on, though, looking to the south, I think really in some of these areas we're looking pretty good. As I've mentioned, these are kind of some of the last lines of natural defenses that we have between us now and Kursk and Kharkov, right? There is a lot of open terrain here between those two objective points for the Axis, so I'm hoping that we can get one, if we're really lucky, 2 turns before they actually arrive in these hexes, that we can continue preparing our forces, right? Get these guys some supply improvement in their situation. So hopefully we can buy ourselves just a little bit more time here. We're going to leave these 2 airborne units on refit here, I think. Because I don't think they're going to make it that far and attack. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to recover and start digging in a little. Moving to the south here, this guy's on refit, and that seems pretty appropriate. I think I will leave him right where he's at, though. Would be nice to have him closer to the HQ, but I need to start thinking about what is our line between us and Kharkov, right? And we don't have quite as clear of a north-south line of forest here to leverage. So we have this first line. We're going to start building out a second here with this hex, right? Then we'll eventually fall back here to this terrain. Actually, there is one note here, is we've got this rough terrain. That would be pretty good from a defensive perspective, but very easy for them to encircle us because of the clear terrain that is surrounding it. So, like these units here, I think we're going to leave them just where they're at. I'm tempted to leave them on refit and risk that they're not going to push down. No, I actually think I'm just going to... I have to, because it's either that or unready. So maybe do I even pull them back? Is, I think, a pretty fair question. Do I pull them back here? I think I might. No, we're gonna leave them there. We need some type of stopping force to prevent them from just going on a complete blitz through this gap in our line. Up here, debating to what extent I want to leave these guys, because right now they have 11 defensive points versus 41. So it is better than 3-1, so maybe it is best that we pull these guys back. So let's do that. Let's pull them back here. We're also going to retreat back this unit here, I think. The HQ can obviously come back. We'll toss this anti-tank unit. Let's toss it here. This HQ unit we're also going to retreat back. Start bringing back some of these guys. And this is where we had started to evacuate our defense of Kiev. I might actually just have you move one more back. This security unit we'll use as a bit of a stopping force. And we'll let them sit there to continue to project that zone of control. This HQ unit can certainly come back. And here are some mechanized and armored divisions that we have somehow managed to not let them be encircled as of yet, so we're going to continue pulling them back. All 1,000 men and almost no vehicles, but we're going to keep pulling them back. Have that security division that I think will leave, but the HQ we can start retreating. So they can come back here. Now Kiev's a little interesting. So in the previous turn, when we had started our withdrawal, they had broken through where we had been defending the Dnieper River here in the south, and they pushed up, and they actually took that opportunity last turn to actually start assaulting the city. Now if we look at the historical dates here real quick, we see that Kiev was actually taken by the Germans August 25th, which really is just 1 month from now. And if they get it next turn, right, that means they got it 3 weeks early, which is certainly a good accomplishment by the Axis forces. But if we think about it historically, the Soviets poured massive amounts of resources into trying to hold Kiev, and ended up having large amounts of forces encircled. I'm optimistic that we're actually going to be pretty well off, considering the fact that we're not pouring massive amounts of defenses into Kiev to try to hold it. Because that's kind of telling me that we're probably going to be in a better position to slow them once they've taken Kiev than historically maybe the Axis forces were. I could be horribly off base with that assessment of the situation, but it's kind of where my head's at. I think what we might do, I'm looking here to see if maybe we don't retreat out. So when we look at the defensive value that each of these is providing, right? We have 1.5, 14, and 14. This anti-tank unit, I think I might actually move them back here. And I'm wondering if I don't toss this rifle division in, just to try to give it enough that they really do have to use all of their infantry to attack it from the front. See, now we have the defensive value of 54. We've almost doubled it. And now they have about 1-to-1. Now they're better supplied, they're less fatigued, just all of these things, right, give them an upper hand. But at the very least, I think now we're going to make it a little bit more of an interesting fight for them. I'm going to take this airborne unit back, even though it's only 380 men. And this security unit, I think I might just leave in the north again as a bit of a stopping force to prevent them from very easily being able to come in north and around Kiev to encircle it. Down here, I think I might leave these guys to just kind of be a little sacrificial in this sense. But I'm going to take the HQ out. So we're going to move the HQ back here. But we'll... I don't know, should I leave them there? Should I maybe move them back one? It improves their situation a little bit. All 2,000 of them. It prevents them from very easily being able to encircle the city, I think. So, yeah, we're going to leave it like that, I believe. Now, continuing to look here at our front line, I think some of these units we're going to leave so that way they can continue staying in these fortified positions. I need to get someone in kind of this pocket, right? Because there's a bit of a gap in our lines. But for the exact moment we're dealing with, it's not too much of a concern. This unit isn't going to be able to retreat, so I think I'm at least going to leave them in light woods with the fortification they have. It's going to be 10,000 men we're going to lose here. But I think that's we might be able to put up a better fight if we stay here as opposed to retreating out of the cover that we have. So we're going to leave those guys right where they're at. And then as we continue surveying our front, we have a couple of units that routed, and you're on refit, so that's fine. You're also unready. We'll set you to refit. And I think I might move you here in between the line. So you're not ready yet, but you can start to prep that area for a defensive position. Here I might start to pull back these units. So for example, I'll take this armor unit back here. This mechanized unit we will bring, thinking to bring them forward here. Yeah, I kind of like that setup. So they can eventually maybe pull back to this. I'm thinking about that, if it's better to have them here spread out a little or to have no weak points in our front line. Boy, it's tempting to attack that 16th Panzer element. Should I maybe? I think I will. We're going to take these 2 tank divisions. And I think we're going to do our very first attack of the entire freaking Let's Play series here. 14 episodes in the first attack we have. Let's see how it goes. Alright, we retreat at them and they lost 11 armor. We lost 47. And you know what? I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. So let's take a look at how that went down. So just from an armor perspective, they lost a whole bunch of Panzer IIIs. We lost these OT-130s, T-26, BT-7s. These are all exceptionally light tank and early war pieces. But look at this wonderful news. T-34s, we only lost 5. We lost no KV-1s and no KV-2s. Great result. Great result for us. And when we look at the actual combat, so we see the KV-1s weren't that involved, it seems. Although they did destroy 2 tanks with 2 AP hits and damaged 1 from very close range. And then the T-34s also destroyed 2. So it looks like that's 5, 7, 9. 9 of the 11 losses they had in armor came in tank-to-tank combat. Just a little surprising because, I guess it's not that surprising. Early war, the anti-tank fixtures really weren't as refined. You see here we just had these howitzers and mortars. Okay, very good. So our very first attack. Now I regret it, because now we have significantly less defensive value here in this hex. Felt good, but it probably wasn't the smartest decision we could have made. So I think what we're going to do is want to, because they're going to be able to break through both of these spots here pretty easily. So I want to take these 2 units here, like this. In this entire stack, I'm going to move back here. Yeah, I think so. These guys are on refit status. Let's bring you up there to that HQ unit. Okay. They are really pushing strong here. They're just going stronger than I am. I'm not able to build any type of defensive line here, and this is really becoming problematic. I think what I'm going to do is I'll first off take this cavalry HQ unit and just move them back. Then I think I will take maybe one of these tank divisions. 15th tank division maybe. And I think I'm going to move them down here. So now we have 6 defensive value. This cavalry division needs to go on refit back here. That rifle division's fine, but I think it makes more sense to have them on the other side of the river. These 2 HQ units both need to come back. Actually, I'm going to move them forward a little bit so they stay in range of some of these forces. And I really cannot afford to have these guys cut off, so I'm going to be just extra cautious here and start to move some of these guys back. This armor unit, for example, we're just going to bring them up here. So I think that really helps defensively. And I think I can actually set you on reserve. Maybe I even bring you forward here. I think I will. This mountain division, we're going to bring back here to this city. These 2 HQ units we'll bring back up here. This rifle division we need to withdraw. These 2 HQ units. There's just no defensible terrain. This is absolutely awful. Just gonna have to take you back here. Okay. Now things are going to start to get a little complicated with some of our decision making, because we had brought in all of these reinforcements. First, I'm just going to take this guy off the train, so I don't forget that. So these are all coming from our reserve box that we had transferred in, and one of the first priorities that we do have is I need to get units south here to help defend these swamp tiles from the enemy crossing straight into the Crimea. So some of these cavalry divisions I'm going to bring straight down here. Actually, I'm going to put you there and then bring up that infantry unit. There we go. Another cavalry division. Tempted if I bring you... Let's just bring you here. There we go. I have more cavalry divisions, good. So the cavalry is really nice because they have enough movement points that I can get them into position along the river here pretty quickly, which then gives them time to fortify a little bit. And then some of these, like here, I'm going to set this guy in reserve. There we go. This mechanized division, I'm going to bring all the way down here. Skip past the animation. There we go. And now I just need to continue to... Now I'm going to start to take a mixture of cavalry and infantry to start populating the defensive perimeter here along these swamp hexes. And in some areas we're going to go even forward to try to slow their progress. I maybe want to bring more south. I think I might want to. It's like here we're going to bring that rifle division, and I'll set them to reserve. This rifle division we'll bring up here. Do the same thing, we'll set them to reserve. For a lot of these guys, I'm going to start moving them forward. Yeah, so you can come up here. We can start trying to create a line on the other side of this river, I guess. It's something. Now we can take some of you north that have more movement points. You can start to dig in there. You there too, I guess. Okay. All right. So that really has started to create a bit of a defensive perimeter. Here now I feel a little bit more comfortable if I maybe start moving some of these units back, because it's better than having them just surrounded. I won't pull them all the way back in every situation. These mountain divisions are usually really good defensive units. So I think I might strategically place some of these in some locations here. I'm wondering, how am I going to defend the north here? And I'm just going to have to start digging in on the river. Yeah, digging in on the river is going to be our only option. Don't know that we need that many forces concentrated in that particular hex. So I'm going to bring back that rifle division so they can start digging in. We'll do the same thing with this mechanized, I think. And then this tank division can stay in reserve. But we'll bring them up here. This HQ can come back there. And this airborne brigade. You are just absolutely exhausted. So we'll just set you there. Refit status. I think it makes sense to so this guy will probably end up getting encircled, but at the very least it should slow them down a little. And we have a lot of counters here, guys, and it might look really reassuring, but there are so many issues with what we've got here. First and foremost is, as you can see, these guys did not get sufficient supply when they came in. So they are hungry, is the best way to put it. And actually, I'm going to keep moving some of these around, I think. It's like here, I want you to go north, I think. Because I think we have some weak points north. Go here behind the city. Yeah, okay. So one is supply. Second is a lot of these guys, like these cavalry divisions, when we look at it, they're TOE. They don't have any anti-air machine guns or infantry anti-tank weapons. And if you haven't picked up on this yet, I have a big shock surprise news bulletin for you. The Axis have a lot of tanks right now. That is the main thrust of their advances against us. Who knew? But that is indeed the case. So it's something we have to be a little cautious of. This guy, I'm just going to do some shenanigans with to make them try to exert more movement points to try to catch me. There we go. Odessa, it looks like we are still kind of holding out there. So we have over 100 defensive value. The fortress is 114. They have, what is that? 54, no, 55, 76, yeah, so they're a little shy of 100 right now. But that is a lot of men that we are tying up from continuing the advance against us. And here I am unable to move these guys out, I guess. Is it because they hold this port? Can I just take that back from them? Is that an option? It was an option. That seems like a good decision on our part. But we still aren't able to cross. So they're probably going to get stuck there. But I can move them up now. This guy's on refit, but I'm going to set him... No, he has to stay on refit. The tank division's on reserve, so I guess that's good. So is this tank division. And... yeah, do we have any guys back here? Tank division's on refit. How's your TOE coming along? Yeah, you only have 10% medium tanks, no heavy tanks, no cavalry tanks. That's not good. This guy, this cavalry division, is just sitting in nowhere's land, so I'm gonna bring you up here. All 28 men that we have here, we're just gonna disband. Down here, nothing new. Okay. So yeah, we're building out quite the defensive line. Now the south is certainly, if we look at this, the area in which the Axis are advancing ahead of schedule. And we knew this. We have been talking about this for quite a few episodes now. Right, where you look at it like here's August 5th, August 3rd, August 9th, etc. That's next turn and 2 turns from now. So they're a turn or 2 ahead of schedule in the south, pretty much across the board here when we look at it. If they advance up to here, they will be right on schedule, or in some areas a week ahead of schedule. And historically, they captured this city in September. They got Zapradis in October. So the cities themselves actually held out for a while. But these open grounds, these open plains that we have here, they were all captured in what is effectively 2 turns from now. Because next turn, when we hit end turn, right, will be like August 3rd or something like that. And then after that, it's August 10th. And that's when a lot of these areas fell. Or August 18th, actually. I'm misreading that a little, excuse me. So August 18th and such, that's even 3 turns from now. So they're running about a turn ahead of schedule. When we get north of the Dnieper, it's where we actually see that they're doing much better, because a lot of these dates are September. And I think one of the reasons for that was that historically, again, the Soviets tried to hold on to Kiev much longer than we have tried to hold on to Kiev. All of these dates here are all September, and they're going to take them in August. And that's a decision we made, and I'm okay with it. The thing that I'm trying to grapple with is, how do we make sure that we don't let that momentum they have from being a turn or 2 ahead of schedule, from just domino effect all the way over to Stalingrad, right? That's one of the concerns I have. Some good news that I was looking at that I wanted to share with you guys is, if we actually look at like Smolensk, we've actually held it longer than the Soviets did historically. And they are not in a position to take Smolensk next turn. If they mustered some enormous forces behind the lines that we don't even have any fog of war visibility to right now, maybe, and this is a big maybe they could take it. But I don't think that's going to happen next turn. Which means we're going to hold on to this another turn, and they're not getting any extra points for capturing Smolensk. And when we look at the rest of the dates here, we see that historically, from once they got into this heavy woods, right, pretty much this line I'm drawing here with my mouse, once they got to these heavy woods, the Axis forces took the entire month of October to go from here to the outskirts of really kind of Moscow. All of this terrain, it took them an entire month to take. And that's because it's so defensible. And I think we're going to find ourselves in the same position. And a lot of this stuff over here, we're actually holding a little bit ahead of schedule in a lot of these areas. Right here, they captured this town July 25th. They're going to capture it next turn, but that's a turn behind schedule. When we look further up here, it's kind of a similar story. Here, they took this July 23rd, and they still haven't taken it. we're kind of right on schedule here north of Peskov, right? So they took Peskov early. We know that. But they're behind schedule here. They're kind of at pace looking up here. So they took these areas in middle of August, late August. They might take that a turn early, but it's nothing too significant. And they didn't get to the border of Leningrad until September, and that's looking pretty realistic right now. This is a lot of terrain for them to try to break through. So I'm not necessarily worried about their push north of Peskov towards Leningrad. I do still have the concern south of Lake Ilmen. So we had actually talked about this in the previous episode, but we're going to look to have our reserve arrival hex right here with Beloga. And we're going to bring in pretty much all the divisions that we're capable of bringing in this next turn, which is these two rifle divisions and the 4 cavalry divisions that we have. And we're going to have to wait a couple turns until we get a huge influx of more reinforcements, but that's okay because we have brought in a lot of units in the last couple of turns, which is very much what historically happened as well. So we're going to bring in these units. Again, those cavalry are the same as we had deployed to the south, where they're about 70% TOE. But I think applying 6 division level units right here along the southern border of Lake Ilmen should be enough to hold against what they have so far allocated. Really, the strongest kind of doom stack that they have are the 6 Panzer and these 2 infantry divisions, which is 33 attacking value. It could break through just about anything we have here on this side right now. But when it looks north, it actually would not be able to break through this hex, this hex. This hex would be a maybe, I think. This hex would be a no. So, I mean, very, very few areas north of Peskov would this, their strongest stack, be able to break through. In conjunction with others, maybe. But if they're taking 1 or 2 hexes a turn, or let's even pretend like every single turn they take 5 hexes north of Peskov, we won. They'll never take Leningrad, right? Because that is a lot of hexes between us right now and Leningrad. And once they get to Leningrad, they're going to have a hell of a fight. So things, I'm feeling very optimistic at this point in the Let's Play, especially compared to some of the emotions that I had at about turn 2, turn 3, as we were just really getting our butts kicked. But now that I'm seeing these more static front lines that we've developed, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic. I still have some concerns of, okay, we know we're sacrificing some ground in the south to allocate more resources north. Can we manage that balance? Can we manage the scales okay enough? But I think already we're kind of proving that it is working because they're behind schedule on getting Smolensk. And I think they will be behind schedule on getting Oryol as well, given the density of forces that we have managed to bring in here. So, feeling really good about this, guys. At the end of the turn here, we are going to go ahead and do AI depot management. I had considered if we wanted to do leader replacement this turn, but I actually think I'm going to save that for turn 7, because I want to let our administration points build up, and I also want to review in 1 to 2 turns, maybe building some units like we talked about in the previous turn. I kind of want to see how our under strength and under supply situation is going in the coming turns. So we've done all of this now. I'm going to go ahead and hit end turn, and let's see what the Axis forces end up doing against us. It's going to be really curious to see. This is where I start to get nervous too. I just got done talking such a big game about how well things are going, and now we get to see if it actually holds true. Like, I'm sitting there going, there's no way they'll take Smolensk next turn, but I'm looking at the map right now with Smolensk kind of at the top center going, oh, but they're at the city gates. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. But we just have to hope our plan holds up to what the Axis forces throw against it. This is where we wait a little. They're going through the logistics phase, then they get to the air phase. And then we will get to see where the Axis player is going to set priority targets and really try to push through against us. I'll be curious if during this turn they try to actually assault Odessa, because the longer they don't, I feel the better situation we're in, because we're able to maintain some pretty good supply situations in Odessa, and I'm not sure how well their naval interdiction would be going right now, considering that we've had some poor weather, right, where we've had a couple of turns of rain, coupled with the fact that they've needed to move their air armies further east to keep up with the front lines. So a little optimistic there on how those things will play out. Now it's 70% about. There were a lot of supplies being moved at this point in the war, so it is understandable that it takes a minute here. We'll go on up to 78, then back to 75. Now we get to the air phase. Okay. I'm predicting very little in the air phase from the Germans. So a lot of recon, right? That's pretty normal. Yeah, this isn't too much, to be honest. Day 3 and only 170 sorties isn't that many. I'll probably end with about 330, 350, so that's fine. Oh, it looks like it was a very heavy front-loaded schedule of sorties, so only 300. Okay, let's see what we got. So here they're pushing north of Peskov. That's pretty expected. Yep, breaking through where we were a little weaker with the security forces. That's understandable. I hope they don't encircle that infantry unit, though. North of Kiev, they went through the machine gun and battery. And here they have now broken through behind Kiev. So the city is now officially encircled, if you will. This is by Kursk. Yeah, so that kind of stopping force airborne unit we had was just demolished. Oh my goodness, they took Odessa? No way. Wow. Okay. So that was a surprise. I didn't think there was any way they were going to take it after just the one attack. You did, I don't know if you guys noticed, but on the map there, you probably saw the units we had in the city fortress actually routed and are now available to us. So maybe it ends up being a blessing in disguise that we can then use those units to defend the Crimea and prevent them from getting anywhere near Sevastopol too early. So maybe it ends up being a blessing in disguise. The question is, what state are those units in? How poorly affected were they by that engagement? Here they're continuing to push north. They're actually attacking one of our strongest units here, which is interesting. We managed to hold again. They didn't really take any casualties, though. Another attack, same situation. These are all just kind of testing maneuvers here. I mean, this is a Poletsai SS. Here's the real attack. Yeah, that was the real attack, and we retreated. We got our butts kicked there. We only killed 200 of their men. We lost 3,000. So that did not go well for us. Here they scouted us. Going back here, I'm a little disappointed because I had higher hopes for our ability to hold against that particular attack. Here we routed. My goodness. So they've got like the 6th Panzer and 3rd Motorized Division, and these guys are really, they're pushing pretty strong. We managed to hold here. Looks like we held again, so that's good. So 2 successive holds. But these 2 Panzer units really were quite impactful. But you look at it, right, if this ended kind of here, I was talking about if we give up 5 hexes north of Peskov every turn, that's okay. It looks like we gave up about 8 there. 8's also a pretty good number. Not too worried about that, honestly. Here, this is north of Smolensk. Looks like we're holding out so far, but they certainly have the advantage to be able to push through if they keep trying. At least based off what we know about that unit. Here they've taken a lot of ground that really, right, we had actually retreated out of to prevent us from being encircled. So this is all territory that we kind of gave up, which is fine. That's decision. They're difficult decisions, but decisions that must be made nonetheless. And one of the reasons was we really wanted to make sure that we don't lose Veliki Luki too easily, right? Because that's a pretty important junction that we don't want them to get too early on. I really don't want to at least want them to get it too early on because it serves as such a rail crossroads for freight to move through. Still sitting at that 12% mark, and this is really the phase in which most of the big stuff is going to happen. There'll be lots more attacks though throughout the other 88% of their turn, but so far we're not seeing much else. I need to shut up though so I don't jinx myself again. Okay. Still holding. What are you gonna do, Axis player? Okay, here we have another attack. This is actually south of Smolensk. Okay, so they're attacking south of Smolensk. They've scouted us twice now. We've lost 1,000 men just scouting us. It's a little interesting. Still scouting, huh? They're throwing a lot of units to scout there. It's now the 5th attack. The 5th scouting attempt, I should say. Now they're scouting here north of, not north, but west of Smolensk, north of their position. Okay, they actually didn't attack that time, and they pretty quickly stopped the attack. Scouting again south of Smolensk. I feel like they're wasting a lot of combat prep here just trying to feel out the front line. I feel like this isn't too productive for them, but I'll let them keep doing it, right? I mean, 1-to-1 losses in men with the Axis at this point in the war especially is, oh my gosh, it's fantastic. And it might not seem like much seeing 100 lost or 200 lost in some of these battles, but really that can add up so much over time. Yeah, another 170. They lost 4 armored vehicles in that last scouting attempt. 8 in this one. Look at that, 8. I was just going to say we were doing shockingly well, and then they do that. So they had 350 armored vehicles attacking there. No wonder we lost. We managed to hold against 150 here. This is getting pretty tense now. 350 armored vehicles had attacked. Here, another 288, and they lost 16. Those are just some insane numbers. Oh, no, they attacked Smolensk. My worst nightmare. They're attacking Smolensk. Please hold. Please hold. Do not lose Smolensk this turn. Just please hold. I'm going to pour so much into that Smolensk tile if we can hold this turn. Oh, this is so tense. So utterly tense. I wonder if we're going to be able to hold. Really not even caring that much about this right now. Just want to hold Smolensk another turn or two longer, that's all. Okay. I still feel like we're doing really good. Hey, look at all of this stuff that they have thrown at this part of the front line. This is absolutely massive. There's got to be a half dozen motorized and panzer divisions here. Plus infantry divisions. This is insanity. Look at how many areas along the front line we're holding. Well done. Well done, comrades. Well done. Really, really happy with the results up there by Smolensk. We ended up losing one of the hexes. Smolensk is now in a very precarious position, and they could still take it this turn. That's what I'm really worried about. But they have faced some incredible odds, and I'm really impressed by how well they held. And even here, look at them trying to push through, and we're holding pretty well. We're not going to continue holding, but I mean, we're not making this easy for them. And that's the whole goal here. This is all north of Kiev. Just really need to batter them and wear them down way before they reach Kharkov. That's the goal, right? We just keep having our forces hold them back, which is just amazing. It'll be curious to see if they do go after Kiev here in this turn. I'm assuming they will. Especially if they had done so many forces towards Smolensk, I'm assuming they're going to try for Kiev as well. And if I can get a similar result out of the Kiev defenders, that will be amazing. Absolutely amazing. We are still at 12% though, which tells me there is so much more pain on its way towards us still. Look at this. Look at them just tearing through parts of the line here. Wow. Just incredible. I am so desperately inside just hoping that this turn ends very quickly here. Please let it end. The very same thoughts that the digital men in foxholes are saying right now. Please let it end. Yeah, we're having some routes here. Because they have the Dasreich SS Motorized Division, plus the 10th Panzer. 4th Panzer attacking that airborne unit. I mean, those are some pretty difficult odds. Again, 29th Motorized Division is attacking there. Here they just scouted, it looks like. They lost another 2 armored fighting vehicles from the 17th Panzer. That all adds up, guys. It all adds up. Okay, this is Kiev. This is attacking kind of behind the city here. And now they're attacking Kiev, and we lost it. Oh no, we lost it, and we didn't even really take that much with us. That's not good. So we lost Kiev. So that's about a month early. Well, 3 turns early? Something like that. About 3 turns early. Considering it is turn 7, 3 turns is quite a few turns. But maybe losing it 3 turns early was worth the trade-off for stronger defensive positions elsewhere. Maybe that's the way to look at it. So, at least that's the hope. That's the hope that the plan is actually working. They are still just at the 12%, which means there's still so much more to come. I wonder if I have units isolated here now. We're going to have to check that out next turn. I don't think I had anyone here. Where's this? I don't see. It must be north of this combat menu here. Yeah, it is. Okay. So here, these are some pretty strong defensive positions that they're scouting out. Just see if there's a surprise panzer division that gets brought up from the rear to do the final attack. That's kind of their MO. Send some of the infantry units to make first contact. No pun intended there. Then bring up the panzer divisions to really go at you. We managed to hold there with the 60th Motorized coming after us. Oh, but now they're about to encircle us. Oh no. Managed to hold again though. And we held again. 23 armored vehicles destroyed. Yes. Another 25 destroyed, and we held again. Almost 60 armored vehicles were, yeah, about 70 armored vehicles we managed to destroy holding that one hex. That is a victory. That is a huge... Another 30 here. Destroyed another 30 armored fighting vehicles here. This is a hex that means almost nothing to us in the grand scheme of things, and they lost 30 tanks just in that one hex. Here we managed to hold. Really glad to see that. Let's see if we can continue holding, because we need to be able to hold so that way we prevent them breaking through here. It is a precarious position here along the front lines. Please hold. Keep holding, guys. Keep holding. Need to keep holding. Wow, they have brought in so much stuff here along the Dnieper. Why will this turn not end? Oh my goodness, I would love for this turn to just end. Stop the misery. This is just utterly demoralizing, watching this. Absolutely demoralizing. If you really do want a challenge, and I say this mostly directed at some of the newer players to the game, because I know there are plenty of veterans in the community who would be handling this situation so much better than I would. But if you're a newer player to the game, and if you really want a challenge, boy, will the Soviet Union in the 1941 scenario give you a challenge. My goodness, is this difficult. Look at this. They're going to have 24 attacking combat value here if they don't continue attacking. And we only have 6 defensive right here. That is an untenable situation. Absolutely awful. And we're still at 12%. Why can we not move that number higher? We're still on priority attack 1 phase. This is all the priority 1 stuff. I can't... I dread to see what priority 2 attacks are. Oh, 15%. Okay. Good, good, good. We are moving along now. Finally. Finally. Assault enemy weak points. What a statement that is. That's some sass from the computer if I've ever seen it. Let's assault the enemy weak points. My goodness. Okay. It's over. Guys, we survived. Look at this nice colored line. They have not crossed the Dnieper this turn. That within itself is a victory. But wow, there is going to be a lot to debrief in the next episode. Again, I need to provide some cliffhangers for you guys. There will be a lot to debrief in the next episode of what exactly happened during that turn. Because we have our work cut out for us once again. From Smolensk to the Dnieper here, to north of Peskov. They had some very strong victories there. They already have taken Kiev, which really puts us behind the 8 ball that they got at that turn instead of it waiting another year. Odessa, completely forgot to even mention Odessa. They already got Odessa, which is just not good. Here we have some of our reserves coming in, but end of turn summary, we see that we lost 100,000 men, which is not that many. I mean, if you think about our Stalingrad to Berlin scenario that we're playing through right now, I would say like every 3rd turn we lose 100,000 men. We've lost 2,200 armor, or 2,200 gun placements, 640 armor, 900 airframes. Here's where it really hurts us though. Net change on the battle map, we lost 100,000 men. Right, so the reserves and reinforcements we had coming in did not outweigh the losses, which is really unfortunate to see. Net loss of 1,600 gun emplacements, 760 armor, and 750 airframes. The only shining light here is that for the Axis player, they also had a net battle change of losing 65,000 men, 450 gun emplacements, and this is the big one for me. They lost 262 armor as a net change in the order of battle. Here's some really good news, though, honestly, from what we're looking at, is units of low supplies 160, which isn't great, but that number could be a lot higher given how many reinforcements we've brought in. we have 54 unready unit, or excuse me, 54 under strength units and 82 unready units. I had misread that, which led to some false optimism from me. Let's take a look at the new events. So excess forces in Finland. So it looks like the Axis forces have put more into the northern front leader box than necessary, so they have a victory point and administration point. And it looks like partisan attacks continue in Belarusia. So a heck of a turn, guys, a heck of an episode. Thank you so much, as always, for giving the series and the channel a watch and your continued support. Questions, comments, or feedback, please, toss them into the comment section below. Love to hear from you. And as always, strategy gamers, hoping you have yourselves an excellent day. Bye now.